Last year, I received a DTS degree apprenticeship offer from the largest pharmaceutical company in the UK. And I'd never done A-level computing, I'd never even done GCSE computing, and I didn't know a single coding or computer programming language. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I did it so that you can replicate my strategy. Welcome to the DTS Degree Apprenticeship Full Guide. First of all, what is DTS? So the full name for it is Digital and Technology Solutions. And a lot of people see it as the computer programming, coding sort of apprenticeship, if that's the sort of thing you want to get into. However, it is not just limited to that. There are actually 6 different pathways you can do within DTS. So the first one is a software engineer, and that is the classic coder that everyone talks about. That is about coding computer programs. So that is the main one everyone thinks of when they think of DTS, and that is a software engineer. Now the second pathway is an IT consultant, and this is where you solve issues for your users and clients. So if you like the thought of solving problems and that sort of thing, then IT consultant is a good pathway for you. So the third pathway is business analyst, and this is about analysing the use of technology in order to meet business requirements. So maybe you see that this part of the business is lacking, and if we implement a certain technology, it will help the business improve. That's what a business analyst is. And the next one is a cybersecurity analyst. So this is where you monitor for cybersecurity threats. It's a really upcoming field at the moment with all the sorts of hacks that you're seeing in the news worldwide. Cybersecurity is really important. So as a cybersecurity analyst, you would be monitoring for these threats. You would be creating and maintaining cybersecurity systems in order to keep the business safe. The next one is data analyst, and that is about how you analyze data and collect data through digital methods in order to help the business with that data to provide insights for the company. And finally, there's network engineer, and that is about maintaining and creating communication networks to allow people to communicate. So those are 6 different pathways from DTS, and you can see that it's not just about coding. The first one, software engineer, is about coding, but it is a diverse apprenticeship and there are multiple roles which you could go into. And if you're interested in one of these pathways, then the important thing to do is check the company to see what pathways they offer. So for example, if you look at JLR on their website, they offer 4 different pathways, including software engineering, the cybersecurity analyst pathway, and the data analyst pathway. And again, if you look at JP Morgan, you can see a list of how at their different locations, they have different pathways. So if there is a certain pathway that interests you, then you need to make sure you look in detail to the company's job description to see that it has the pathway you are interested in. So what sort of companies can you apply to for DTS? What sort of companies offer this DTS degree apprenticeship? And now first of all, the main one is IT consultancies. So companies such as Tata and Fujitsu, your classic IT companies, CGI, they are definitely going to be offering DTS degree apprenticeships because their company is all about digital, all about IT, all about technical stuff. So that's a good starting point to look at IT consultancy companies. However, this is where DTS is actually an advantage compared to other degree apprenticeships, because on top of these bog standard IT consultancies, DTS is actually in almost every single company. And just think why that is. Why does almost every company want a DTS? Why would a construction company want a DTS apprenticeship? Why would a marketing company want a DTS apprenticeship? And the reason for that is because every single company is going digital. Every company has a website. They therefore need software engineers to build that. They need cybersecurity analysts to protect their website. Every company needs communication networks for the different teams to communicate. Every company has technology that they use that needs IT consultants to fix it. Every company needs business analysts and data analysts to provide insights on where they can use technology to improve the company, right? Every single company needs DTS. So this is where, on top of those IT consultancies, you can check out almost every single company and you'll find that they need a DTS degree apprenticeship. So if you're interested in just pure IT, coding, Silicon Valley, Mark Zuckerberg sort of thing, then definitely I would say go straight to the IT consultancies, go to your Tata, go to your Fujitsu, even things like Google and Amazon, go straight there. However, if you're interested in other things, this is where I'd say it's a great opportunity to do DTS at a normal company. So if you're interested in cars, then why not do DTS at JLR or Bentley? If you're interested in aeroplanes and that sort of thing, why not do DTS at Rolls-Royce or Airbus? If you're interested in finance, why not do DTS at JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs? If you're interested in construction, then do DTS at Arcadis or Atkins. You can see that if you have a side interest in a certain industry, but you still want to do DTS, then that opportunity is available to you, because almost every single company does DTS. Compare this to civil engineering, where if you want to do that as a degree apprenticeship, you have to go to a construction company. If you want to do a supply chain degree apprenticeship, you have to go to a manufacturing company. So you can see that you have a massive advantage here being DTS, and actually there's 10 times as many opportunities for DTS degree apprenticeships, which is why it's such a good one to choose. Now let me just give you a list of some of the universities that do DTS. So you've got Warwick, Leeds, Manchester Metropolitan, Exeter, Staffordshire, De Montfort, Sheffield Hallam, Coventry, Aston, and so many more. And for full information about all of this, you can just go onto the Institute for Apprenticeships website and check out their DTS degree apprenticeship page. Now that you understand what DTS is, the next question is how to get into DTS. Now first of all, here's what you don't need, and as I explained earlier in the video, I got my DTS offer without these three things. So I didn't have computing GCSE, I didn't have computing A level, and I didn't know a single computer programming language. Because you don't need any of these things for a DTS degree apprenticeship. That's a common misconception that people have, that you need these things, because you actually don't need them. So what do you actually need? Well, you actually need these three things: a willingness to learn, adaptability, and a growth mindset. Now that seems a bit random. Why do they want these three completely random skills, but they don't want these? Because it would make sense if they wanted a computing A level or a computing programming language, but why don't they want that, and why do they actually want these? And the reason for this is because of what the industry is. It's a fast moving industry. So just think about what's happened even in the last year in the technology, computing and IT sector. Think about ChatGPT, think about the explosion of AI that has happened in the last year. If you take the whole computing field just 2 years ago and compare it to now, it is completely radically different. Everything has changed, right? So that just shows how it's a fast moving industry. There's new innovations every couple of months, even every weeks, to be honest. There'll be new innovations, a new language that comes out, a new program, a new way of doing things. So it's a fast moving industry. And that is why the companies in this sector need employees who can adapt and learn new skills. When that new innovation comes out, they want employees who can jump straight onto that, learn it as quickly as possible, and implement it within the business to give the business an advantage. So that is why they are looking for these three skills here: a willingness to learn, an adaptability, and a growth mindset. So that when these fast moving innovations and new technologies come out, their employees can jump straight onto it. So the three skills we are looking to tick off to get a DTS degree apprenticeship is a willingness to learn, adaptability, and a growth mindset. So now the next question is, how do we do this, right? And there are 2 steps to this, which I'm going to cover now. So the first step is all about extracurricular activities, and this is something that you may not have thought about. You may not have included these in your CVs, your cover letters, and your application questions, because maybe you're thinking, this is nothing to do with DTS, this is nothing to do with computing, why would I include it? And it comes back to this. Sure, it doesn't tick off any of these things, but you don't need that. But what it does tick off is a willingness to learn, and adaptability, and a growth mindset. So, for example, take a sports team. Say you start learning a new sport. You used to do football and you started learning hockey. It means you're having to learn the new rule set. You're having to learn the new tactics. You're having to learn the new way they play the game in the new sport. That's a good way of showing that you have a willingness to learn and you can adapt, because you've adapted to that new sport. Or maybe you're doing the same sport and you change position. Maybe you used to be a midfielder, now you're a centre back. That's adapting to that new role and the new responsibilities you have to have within that role. Or maybe you change teams and now you have to adapt to the tactics used by the new team. You have to adapt to the new team dynamic, adapt to the new coach. All those are ways that you can talk about adapting being part of a sports team. So definitely in your CV, get a paragraph about a sports team you're in or a sport you're doing that shows that you're learning new things and adapting. Another thing is a musical instrument. That's a really obvious one because of course you're learning. If you're grade 5 saxophone, you've had to learn that instrument up to grade 5. You've had to learn new pieces, had to learn new techniques. You've had to adapt to playing different scenarios, adapting to playing a jazz solo or adapting in a classical piece in an ensemble. You have to adapt to these different scenarios. Even if it's a hobby, it doesn't have to be something like specific like a school sports team or a musical instrument. It can just be a hobby, like maybe you like building models or something and you have to adapt to situations where the instructions don't work, so you have to adapt and come up with your own solution to make it different. Or you have to learn how to use different tools, like some special sort of spanner that you use for building models. It can be something that doesn't even seem related, and nothing like specific, like a sport or musical instrument. It can literally just be a hobby that you use in your CV to show this willingness to learn. So if you've got a good hobby, get that in there. Maybe it's literally, if you can't even think of anything, maybe you can solve a Rubik's Cube. You can say you challenge yourself in lockdown to learn to solve the Rubik's Cube. That straight away shows a willingness to learn, and then you have to adapt to when the Rubik's Cube comes and has different permutations and different combinations. You have to adapt and work out which one, and maybe you then decided to do the 2x2 or the 4x4 or the triangle one, and that's a growth mindset. So hobbies are another one you can do. And then the final, and this isn't like a limited list, you can only do these four. Basically anything extracurricular you think you can link to a willingness to learn and growth mindset, go for it. These are just some examples for you. So another one's a volunteering role. So this is one you can put in the work experience section of your CV. You volunteered, maybe you volunteered to be a new leader of year 7 or something, and you had to learn the new responsibilities. You had to adapt to dealing with different situations. Maybe you're a mentor, then you have to adapt to listening to the pupil and listening to the different challenges that they're facing and adapt to how you can help solve them, all sorts of things like that. So that is step one of being able to get a DTS apprenticeship, and that is through getting down extracurricular activities that link to these three things: growth mindset, adaptability, and willingness to learn. Now the second one, this is where we begin to become DTS related. We have specific DTS related activities, and there are 4 types of activities which I'm going to go through. I'm going to give you examples so you can click on these links and go straight to them, and also I'm going to show you how you can include these in your CV and cover letters, especially cover letters, because cover letters people find quite difficult, but I'll break it all down for you here, how you can write a cover letter for DTS. So there's 4 DTS related activities: articles, webinars, MOOCs, and work experience. So let's start off with articles. This is the first thing you want to be doing to get a DTS apprenticeship, is you want to just go through some DTS articles from the companies you're interested in. And this isn't something crazy. You could literally just allocate 1 hour, 4 companies, you spend 15 minutes on each company just looking at articles. So where do you find these articles? You go on the website of each company, and there'll usually be some sort of news section or some sort of press release section or media section, that sort of thing, and they'll basically have a list of articles. For example, if I just show you with JLR now, this is one sort of article that you could click on and read, talking about AI, and then you can talk about how JLR interests you because they're using AI to do all this stuff to help technology. And the way you get this is on the corporate websites for all these companies. I'll just using JLR as an example. You can go to news and media, latest news, or it might be called press releases, and you can just scroll through all the different pages until you find something that's DTS related. So maybe they started using a new software, maybe they started using AI, or that maybe they started doing something which was digital. Like I found another one here about data. If you're interested in the data analyst part of DTS, and you can talk about how JLR is focusing on data. So that's just an example for you there. And then here's some more examples from any of these companies. Just get some companies you're interested in: Tata Consultancy Services, Fujitsu, CGI, and a lot of these are about AI, but they could be about anything to do with DTS. So just spend an hour getting going through a bunch of articles and just have a read of them, and just make sure you take a few notes and write down which articles you used, because then we can use these in our cover letter, and I'm going to get to how we can do that later. So the next one is webinars, and webinars are again a good way to learn information, and you can actually learn a lot from just a short webinar, and there's something you can put into your CV. So I've just put a couple down here of the sort of type of webinar you could do for DTS. So something about machine learning, or the ethics of AI, or how to use websites, or prompt engineering. Just webinars like this, they don't have to be anything too long, maybe just an hour. But once you've done these webinars, you can then put a paragraph like this in your CV. So you could put something like, completed a webinar on the ethics of AI and machine learning. This brought to my attention the issues and implications of artificial intelligence, which will be useful in my career as a responsible and ethical software developer. Straight away, that's a really good thing to put in the work experience section, or the key achievements section of your CV, and you just say you did the webinar and then what you learned, and then just link it back to being useful. You'd say this will be useful for a DTS apprentice. And that's a really good way, again, to show that you're properly interested in DTS, because you're doing proper webinars and you're learning new things. Now the third way is MOOCs, and now there are if you don't know what a MOOC is, it's massive open online courses. So just think of it as an online course, and there are 3 websites to check out for this: Coursera, edX, and FutureLearn. Just have a look at each of those in the computer science section, or the artificial intelligence, software developing, technology sections, whatever you want, and just have a look at a few of these. So as I go through these, they're sort of getting more and more effort required. So articles, that's just a small activity you can do. It takes 2 minutes to read an article. Webinar could be a 30-minute webinar, could be an hour webinar. And then you have a MOOC. So MOOCs will usually be a couple of weeks, a couple of hours of study each week. It just depends on the sort of level you want to go for. So I've got a few down here. So for example, there's this IBM AI one, which is 4 weeks, 1 to 2 hours per week, and getting the name of IBM in your CV is a really good name to have. And then there's a Google one you could do. Then universities do these, so University of Washington, Harvard. And then, as I say, you can just go to the level you want to go to. Maybe if you only have time to do 4 weeks, an hour a week, then do this one. Or if you have more time, like this is a very big one, 12 weeks, 6 hours, 6 to 18 hours per week. That's a massive one, really big commitment, but that will look amazing on your CV. And then this is how you link it into your CV. You can put it in the key achievements section: completed the 6-week MOOC Introduction to Cybersecurity run by the University of Washington. Through 4 hours per week of study, I learned about how to identify and monitor cybersecurity threats and ways to protect systems. So that's just a short one. To be honest, you could get 3 or 4 sentences in there talking in detail about what you've learned, which will show that you have a technical knowledge already of the industry and you're really interested, because you're learning this high level stuff. So you can get a couple of sentences in there of what you've learned. And then also 2 bonus tips I'll say for this is, make sure you put in 6 weeks and 4 hours, or whatever it is, because if you've done a course like this Harvard one, which is 12 weeks, 18 hours per week, I would 100% be saying you completed a 12-week course which was 18 hours per week, because that's just making you look so much better, because it really shows them how much time you've put into it, right? Because if you just put a course, they might just think it's a 2-hour thing, but if you put in it's a 6-week or an 8-week and 4 hours per week of study, they then straight away know the sort of scale you're dealing with, that you're really committed. And then the other bonus tip is, make sure you put ran by and then put the company, so whether that's IBM, Google, or the University of Washington, Harvard, just because to you it might mean nothing. Like, I know Google's a really popular company, but say it's a MOOC ran by some company you've never heard of, to you it might mean nothing, but to the recruiter who's actually in the industry, that could be one of the biggest digital companies in the industry. So make sure you always put that name down there. Now finally is work experience, and I've left this to the end because it's probably the most valuable and most important, because a lot of these, so the MOOCs, the articles and the webinars, that is just about knowledge. You're just learning new things, and this is where work experience really differentiates, because work experience, on top of just knowledge, you actually do projects as well. So you're actually doing activities, and activities are the best way to show off your skills. So if you can get work experience, that's absolutely massive. So here are 4 work experience opportunities that you could do. To have a look at these. So this one's by Amazon, again about AI. This one's from Vodafone. This one's one by Springpod. It's not by a specific company, and ideally you want ones by companies just because it's good to have their name in your CV. But even just being able to put on your CV Springpod technology work experience, that's good enough. That's better than nothing. And then the final one here is one from Speaks from Schools, which is a Bentley Motors digital work experience. So those are just four you can come onto this document, have a click on if you're interested. And here is an example of how you can put this into your CV. So usually your work experience paragraph is probably in general going to be much longer than your MOOC and your webinar paragraphs, just because there's more in it. There's stuff about what you've learned, but also about stuff which you've done, which, as I said a minute ago, work experience is so good because you learn things, but you also do things, and do things is a really good opportunity to show your skills, as you'll see from what I've written here. So you can copy something like this. So completed virtual work experience with Amazon. I heard from industry experts about the issues with verifying AI knowledge and the potential for plagiarism using AI chatbots. This was a good opportunity to expand my knowledge of artificial intelligence. So that's usually how you can start off a work experience. One, talk about the knowledge you learned, and then the rest of it, that can be about the skills you've learned from the things you've done. So this last bit is all about what you've done during the project, which is what differentiates work experience from everything else. So during the project which I was tasked with, I had to come up with my own system for verifying AI knowledge, and then I had to do a self-assessment. Creating the system helped develop my outside the box thinking skills, which were required to come up with creative and innovative solutions to the challenges of AI. Equally, the self-assessment task helped improve my critical thinking skills and allowed me to take on a growth mindset, which I know will be valuable in the technology sector. So there you go. That's a structure you can use if you are not sure how to put the work experience you've done into your CV. Now, the final thing I want to touch upon is a cover letter, because I know a lot of people struggle with the cover letter. If you haven't written a cover letter before, I'd recommend you check out my video on writing a cover letter, because that will help. But in general, I say with a cover letter, you want a research paragraph. And this is where there's some key topics that you'll probably want to focus on depending on each sector. And for DTS, I would say that the key topics to focus on in 2023, 2024 is artificial intelligence and quantum computing. So with everything that's happened over the last year with artificial intelligence and ChatGPT, it's a massive field, and quantum computing is a big thing that's going to be coming in the next few years. So if you can get something about quantum computing, then that is massive as well. So these are the two topics I'd say focus on. So let's say you're applying to Tata Consultancy Services as an example. So you can follow this example for whatever company you're applying to. I would say get one of the articles. This is probably the best way to write the cover letter. You can do it with the webinars, course and work experience if you want, but I would say an article is a good way to leverage research, because a lot of people are going to try and get work experience, a lot of people are going to try and get courses, but not many people are going to be going through the company website and looking at different articles and press releases. So you're really going to stand out if there's just some random press release that you've managed to find. So get one of the articles that you read in the previous step and basically talk about it. So here's an example of how you could do that research paragraph. I recently read about your work with the Momentum Metropolitan Life and how you utilized AI to get through a backlog of customers caused by the pandemic. So just first of all, say what you read. That's the first step. And then the second thing is basically you have to link this to why you're interested. So you read about them doing a certain thing, and that certain thing you're interested in, therefore I want to work for your company. That's what we're going for here. So we read about them using AI, and then you say why that interests you. So I believe that the explosion of artificial intelligence, in particular language-based models, is the largest opportunity in the world for computing at the moment. Seeing that you work on cutting-edge new technology inspires me to work for the company. So there you go. That's a really good exemplar research paragraph for you. Show that you've read the article, or if you want to do a webinar or whatever, then put that there. And then you can say why that links to you and why that makes you interested in the company. Okay? And then I just thought there's an extra section you can put in your cover letter. So this is something that I did, was basically I'd include these bullet points where I highlight something from my CV just to draw attention to it. So as you can see from my CV, I have completed this online course on prompt engineering, or taken part in this machine learning workshop, and then say a nice sentence like I have a passion for lifelong learning, and these were both opportunities to expand my knowledge of the industry and the direction it's headed in. So that's just a bonus thing, sort of template section you can put in if you need a few more lines in your cover letter, and it helps draw attention to some of the courses or webinars or work experience that you've done from the steps previous. So there you go, you've now learned those 2 steps about extracurricular activities as well as articles, webinars, MOOCs and work experience. These 2 steps will help you show a willingness to learn, adaptability and growth mindset, which are so required because the technology sector is such a fast-moving industry with innovations happening every few weeks. So there you go, that is the key strategy for getting a DTS degree apprenticeship. Now, there we go, that is the end of the video. I hope this video has been helpful. It has been quite a long one. If you got any value from this video, if at any point this has helped you and given you some ideas of how you can get a DTS degree apprenticeship, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like, just so that I know that videos like these are useful for helping you guys with getting degree apprenticeships. I've got a big announcement coming up just at the start of December. Going to be putting out a lot of content in December for you guys, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe with notifications on so that when I post things on the community tab, then you can see what's going on. There's going to be a link to the document that I've been going through in the second half of this video in the description, so check down there so that you can have a look at that yourself, and it's got all the links there for you to go straight to that. I hope this video has helped. Have a good day. Thanks very much.